Hey guys, Delfiend here. I wanted to do a video today that was going to be a little different than what I usually do, mostly because I want to make a video for you guys, and I don't have my pets around. Quick update before I get started. If I probably didn't tell you guys, I can't remember if I did, but I wasn't allowed to keep the axolotls at the dorm, so they are back at my house, so I can't even do any videos of those guys. I still have Brutus, the beta, and we named the African dwarf frog, we named him Flipper. So we have Flipper and Brutus and the shrimp, the orange bee shrimp, but the axolotls had to go home, so they'll be in the update when I head home. I think in October there's a long weekend, we get like a miniature break, so I'll be doing some videos for you guys then. But today I wanted to do a video that's a little bit different. I haven't really done this sort of video before, but as a lot of you guys know, I have a lot of different pets, and I'm pretty passionate when it comes to figuring out how to take care of those pets before I get them. If any of you have watched the how to bearded dragon, that hour-long video that I made, it's basically me going through a PowerPoint, and I made that PowerPoint for myself when I was trying to figure out if I could afford to get a bearded dragon, what it was going to take to keep one and take care of it well, all that good stuff. And then I went through that with you guys. So today I wanted to show you how I even go through that process of researching an animal, figuring out the kind of stuff it's going to need, show you what that looks like for me when I do it. So as you can see here, I want to get a black and white Argentine tegu. I've talked about this a couple times, but this is actually a pretty serious thing that I want to do. Once I get an apartment next year, I started looking at those, and I'm trying to find a place that's pet friendly. We actually have a lot of places around us that are pet friendly. They just charge like an extra fee. Most of them say dogs and cats, but I'm sure I could convince them to let me keep a lizard. So here we are. This is just, if you Google black and white Argentine tegu, you get all sorts of stuff here. All sorts of links. So basically what I start doing is I start just, opening up links here. Try and find, pretty reputable, I got it, websites here. But just pulling a bunch of them up. I'm not a huge Blackwater Reptiles fan. Just pull a bunch of them up here, and you pretty much just start reading. You want to, read as many links as you can, kind of cross-reference what information keeps popping back up, because a lot of people are going to throw in their opinions, how they take care of their tegu specifically, and you want to make sure you find that information that's non-biased, that's it's correct, obviously, is important. So, cross-referencing all sorts of really reputable sites is a great way to figure that out. Wikipedia isn't the best page for this, just because they're going to talk to you a lot about the animal. They got etymology there. They got a very short section here on it being a household pet. Lots of scientific facts here, but stuff that's not going to be really useful for trying to figure out how to take care of one. So I already read a couple links here. I'm going to go through and read some more, but basically they need a large cage. That's one of the biggest things that keeps popping up everywhere. That's obviously one of the biggest things that's going to be like a challenge to take care of these guys, is that they need so much space, because they are huge lizards. So basically what I've done here is I got this idea in my head, giant cage, where could you put that? And since it doesn't have to be too tall, basically, my plan is that my tegu can have free roam of the house, at least my room. Depending on how my roommate warms up to them, it might be the whole house. But you can't keep them just free roaming all the time, because they do need a good amount of humidity in order, to shed properly, probably proper respiration, all that stuff that goes along with humidity. So they do need a place to go where they can be humid when they need to be, even if you're going to let them roam around the house. And obviously I can't have them, roaming around at night. I don't want them getting loose or, getting out of the house or something happening. So we need to have a pretty spacious cage. It's not going to be 100% of the time in the cage, so it doesn't need to be full cage requirements of keeping a tegu 24/7 in this habitat sort of thing. But it should be big enough, that if I have to leave them in there, if it's for a day, if it's just for a couple of hours, overnight, whatever, that, my tegu is going to be comfy. So a lot of stuff that I get here. So that's size. Let's go down here to Enclosure. It says black and white, Argentine black and white tegu should be kept in an enclosure not less than 6 foot by 2 foot. for one male. Female enclosure can be slightly smaller. I do plan to get a female. I already have a name picked out for her. It's going to be Beetlejuice. And I plan to do a lot of training with her and get her to do really cool tricks. So it says here they're very active, so their habitat should be as large as possible. Might want to consider a closet or room size enclosure, blah, blah, blah. Secure and well ventilated. This one doesn't talk about humidity until down here, so well ventilated, but there has to be, the sort of substrate, that kind of stuff that can help keep humidity up. So basically what I've done here is I've already been working on this without you guys, I'm sorry. So my thought is I can keep a cage underneath my bed, because it doesn't need to be that tall, and if I, equip it out with lighting, being under the bed isn't going to be a big deal because there's going to be, UV lights, heat lamp, that sort of thing, illuminating the cage. So I was looking at different size beds. So basically, I found this picture off Google. These measurements were in inches, but I went and converted them all into feet. So, depending on the size of my room, obviously is going to depend on the size of the bed I have. Twin XL is probably the smallest I'm going to have, and that's about 3 feet by a little less than 7 feet. So it's a little on the, not so wide side, but lengthwise it's perfect. So let's see. Yeah, so they said 6 foot by 2 foot on this website for one male. Let's go look at some different websites here. Yeah, this one says no less than 6 foot by 2 foot. Let's keep going just to make sure we get a good spread here. Let's see. Go to the care sheet for these guys. This gives you lots of information. Housing, here we go. Okay, enclosure size should be total length of the lizard body, but bigger is always better. Blah, blah, blah. So that one's not being... Here we go. Enclosures are 8 foot by 4 foot wooden or acrylic cages. So this one, I'm pretty sure I've read this one before. This is like if you keep them there indefinitely. As you can see, these guys look like they're being kept outside. So 8 foot by 4 foot is kind of like if you're going to keep them in that enclosure indefinitely. That should be the size. So keep that in mind, though, because, if you have to keep the tegu in there for a long time, you don't want to cut corners, definitely, when you're trying to figure out this stuff. You want to think as big as possible, make sure you can afford all the expensive stuff. Don't be cutting corners on prices right away. You want to make sure you can afford everything at full price, as expensive as it's going to get, because then if you find deals and if you figure out ways to, cut back on expenses, then you're good. But you don't want to start cutting back and then have to spend more money and not have that money to spend it. So, always be really extravagant when you're planning for an animal. That way you'll always have the money you need. And if you don't need all of it, that's great. But you want to make sure that you're covering all expenses that may or may not happen. All right, so down here we have this one. So tegus get big fast. Keep this in mind when shopping for hatchlings. While a 20 to 40 gallon tank may suffice for a couple months, you want to start planning for your custom cage that's no less than 6 foot by 3 foot deep and 2 feet high. Alright, so this one wants us to be 3 foot deep. It sounds a little better to me. The last ones were saying 2 feet, right? So going back to our, these are mattresses, obviously. Beds would be a little bit bigger, but you have to keep in mind there's posts and then probably cut into the cage there. But it looks like even a twin XL here is a little over 3 foot by 6 foot. So that would work perfectly to put a tegu cage under. If I got anything bigger like a queen, it could have an even bigger cage, or I could keep it about the same size and then give myself a couple feet of storage room under there. That's something I have to figure out in the future, obviously. So clearly I can keep a baby in something small like a tank that I can buy. And I can get, since I'm not going to get this guy until at least August of next year, or yeah, I mean, that's the soonest I could possibly get her. This summer will be another $1 per gallon sale at Petco, which means I can get a 40-gallon tank for $40, which is good. So basically, I'm just going to keep looking through stuff here. And then as I go through, start figuring out stuff that I need. Generally, let's see, I put it all in an Excel sheet. Excel sheets are really good for keeping track of expenses. just because, you know, you can perform simple math operations to pretty complicated math operations in Excel. So, you know, if I start putting prices in here, I can get a cell and, you know, say sum, and that'll help me summate all of the different prices that I put in. So I'm just going to go through here, and I'm going to start pulling out some prices. I'm also going to plan in 2 stages. It's going to be the smaller hatchling to juvenile stage, and then the larger sub-adult to adult stage, which is going to need the custom cage under the bed. So I need to plan for, you know, substrate, you know, feeding. It's going to be a lot of food. I've already, like I said, I've done some reading already. I've been thinking about this for a long time, but tegus they can't just eat, like, you know, bugs, that sort of thing. As babies they can, but when they get bigger they need, you know, proteins, like, you know, chicken, turkey, poultry, meat. They need vegetables, fruits, just a really wide variety of things to keep them happy and healthy. So obviously I have to plan for those sort of expenses, you know, grocery bills, that sort of thing. But like I've been promising for the past couple minutes, I'm going to go look through and see what I can't find here. And then I'll pop back in and see what our bill has come to. Alright guys, I thought I should show you this that I'm working on right now. So I was going through all the different websites here, looking at what they suggested for substrate. So for here we have orchid bark, cypress mulch, or other substrates that hold moisture are recommended. And then it says the substrate should be something that your tegu can dig in, so avoid carpet or paper. It should be at least 6 inches deep in the bottom of the enclosure to allow for burrowing. That's a lot. It's a lot, guys. You want to know why? Well, let's go here. This is the wonderful, beautiful, all-seeing Pet Mountain. It's one of the best websites to buy pet supplies from. Why? Because they're cheap. That's about it. They don't have a lot of everything, and sometimes they have weird brands, but it's cheap. So if you can find it on Pet Mountain, good job. You found the best price on the internet. So I'm just starting off there because why start anywhere else? So Repti bark here, it's fur bark, 100% natural. It's good stuff. I've used it before on anoles. We used to have anoles a long time ago. So they have lots of different options here, and they're measured in cubic feet. So I was like, how many cubic feet do I need? So I started doing some calculations here. I'm not calculating for 6 inches of bedding right now. Bite me. Just because it will be a lot of bedding. And I feel like I could probably provide something to burrow in that is cheaper, like a lot of moss or something. It's all going to depend on the tegu. If they seem like they really want to burrow, I'll get them more bedding. But people also said that Freddy, my bearded dragon, would love to dig in things, and I gave him a sandbox, and all he does is lay in it sometimes. So, again, it's one of those things I'm going to keep in mind. I'm going to write it down, make sure it's there, it's accessible, that I can remember it. And then I'm just going to kind of modify all these things that I'm reading based on how my individual tegu acts. So if they seem like they're really digging, trying to get buried, but there's not enough substrate, I'll get them more substrate. That being said, you know, same thing with everything. If it seems like they really like a certain food, you know, obviously I'll make sure that it's okay for them to eat more of it, but like I might change up their diet based on stuff I've read, you know, to fit the individual animal. That's something you're going to have to do, you know, keep in mind all of this stuff is obviously based on lots of experience. These people have either owned tegus for a long time, you know, studied tegus, what have you. Most of these people are breeders and they have a lot of experience, you know, with a wide group of animals. So, you know, just keep in mind that they probably know what they're talking about. But, you know, reading stuff is completely different than actually experiencing it. So if something happens while you're taking care of your animal, and it seems, you know, you might want to modify something that you read, it's not the worst thing in the world that you could do. I mean, as long as it's not something that's going to outright harm your animal, like, why not give it a shot? I gave Freddy a sandbox, because people said their bearded dragons like sandbox, and it didn't work out. But then he also loves going shopping. and there's some things he doesn't love that people say that their bearded dragons do. So they are individuals. You can't just, you know, lump them all together and say this is cut and dry, gonna work every single time for you. So back to the point that I was even talking about. So for a 40-gallon tank, with a 2.5 inches of bedding, again, can be modified, but this is just what I'm going for. 2.5 inches is, you know, it's pretty good, especially for like a little baby. So that is 0.9 cubic feet. So that would be, you know, 24 quarts would fill the 40-gallon tank to about where I want it to be, and that's on sale for $17 here at Pet Mountain. Gotta love Pet Mountain. And so I went back to full-size cage, and if I only put 1.5 inches of bedding, it would be 2.25 cubic feet. Our bulk option here is 2.79 cubic feet for $50. So realistically, I'd probably have to double that to give about 3 inches, which isn't even close to the 6 inches. So even more realistically, quadruple that. So that would be what? $200 just for bedding if I gave full 6 inches of bedding. This is why we do research beforehand, because these are the expenses we don't want to creep up on us in the middle of the night and bite us in the butt. You don't want to have your tegu in your hands and go out shopping for their bedding to figure out that you have to spend $200 freaking on bedding. That's why we do this stuff in advance, like way in advance. It's like a year before I can possibly get a tegu. Alright, so just wanted to share that with you guys. This is a great time. You gotta really love these expenses that jump up on you. So obviously we're gonna go in here. We're gonna say, Zoom Ed Premium Reptibark. I clicked on a link. I'm gonna put that in there. And let's see, we need, so this is on the baby stage. We'll do both at once here. Alright. So on the baby stage, we need, what did I say here? Alright, so that's 2.5. So let's calculate that if we put in, I think the 6 inches is probably for an adult, so I feel like the 2.5 is good here for a baby, but let's do a range up to 4 inches, so it could be either 0.9375, so let's round that to 0.9. Yeah, 1.94 to 1.5. So put that back in the Excel. So either 0.94 to 1.5 cubic feet of bedding. And then we go back to the website here. So that could range between, it'd be like $17 to about double that, which is 31. Great thing about Excel is you can just take these and you can make them dollars without ever having to type a $sign. Love Excel. Alright, so obviously I have two categories going on here. It's going to be, you know, least expensive, or, you know, what I'm actually thinking about doing, and then potential highest cost, you know, for, you know, extravagant, super ideal, I'm the best owner that you'll ever meet in the entire world, give me an award price category. So that's what that is. So we're going to keep an eye on both of those numbers. Obviously one is going to be the lowest I possibly want, but I want to shoot for that second one. That's going to be nice, because even if you don't spend all of that money on your essentials, you know, treat your lizard to something. Go out, buy them an accessory, like a little harness or a leash, or, you know, just a bunch of treats. You can spend that money on other things. So having it's not going to hurt anyone. Alright, I keep clicking on things. So I'm going to keep going through here and see what else we need, and then I'll let you guys jump back in here. Alright, so just wanted to point something else out here for you guys. So I was going through all the different websites I pulled up. trying to find, where they wanted the temperature to be. So on our first website here, we have a 75 to 85 degree range. This is not the basking spot, just the ambient temperature. They said nighttime temps can be 5 to 10 degrees cooler. Second website, we got an 80 to 90 degrees temperature, so a little bit higher than this one. Not too bad. It's about 5-degree difference. And again, temperatures can be 5 to 10 degrees cooler at night. This one gets a little crazy. It says that young tegus, less than 30 inches, only need a basking area of 115 degrees. This is basking area, mind you, which is not what I've been reading. These other ones list basking area. Boop-de-boop-de-boo. This one says 95 to 100. Over here we have 95 to 100. This guy says 115 for babies, and adults 125 to 135 degrees. Are we trying to cook them or something? That's a lot. Like, these aren't uromastics. Like, uromastics need a lot of freaking heat. These are tegus. And I might give them more cred, but literally every single website after that is, in the same range. 110 tops. So probably just gonna casually just not look at that anymore, because that's kind of a cred issue. Moving on, this one says about 80s during the day. Night temperatures can safely drop into the low 70s. So about the same stuff we've been reading. Cool side 75 to 85 degrees again. So all these are pretty much in the same general page. So that's good to know. So yeah, that's a really good way to kind of sniff out which websites are credible, which ones aren't, which ones are kind of iffy. Everyone's going to get something right every now and again, but if you start just cross-referencing, really, really basic, general facts like this one, like the ambient temperature, you can start to find people who start to kind of slip. And if they slip up on one thing, you can't trust them to get everything else right, so you might as well, toss that, source, because you can't trust anything else that comes out of their mouth. When they get one thing wrong, everything could be wrong. So, like I said, I closed the link on that, and these ones have all been agreeing with each other. Obviously, after I get basic information down, I'd pretty much read every link I could find. That way I have a pretty solid, idea of what all of these are saying that, agree with each other, so that when I start going through, more links, videos, that sort of thing, you can tell, what's wrong, what's not. You just have to, pretty much train yourself to figure out general information so that you can sniff out the misinformation when it approaches you. So yeah, that's essentially what I do. I'll probably make another one of these at some point once I progress further. I don't want to keep you guys hanging out here while I just, start making a shopping list pretty much. But I'll make a follow-up video once I have more information and show you guys what I've come up with. I'm essentially going to be doing the exact same stuff I've been doing here, just, reading links, writing stuff down, making calculations, that sort of thing. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more of this type. If you have any video suggestions, like I said, I don't have the pets with me, so I can't really do update videos on them. But if there's anything you want to see, information-wise, if you just have any general questions, you can leave them below. I'll try and be as active as possible. I usually, pick a day and then go through, all the comments. But, if you have something really urgent, you can preface with urgent. I'll try and find it. I get all of the comments as they come in my email. I just usually don't have time to respond to them right away. It's easier to just jump on the computer at some time and go through all the comments. So, yeah, like I said, leave me a thumbs up if you like this video. If you don't, I'm sorry. I know it's getting to be really long at this point, and I apologize for that. But hopefully you found this useful. You guys can do this sort of thing for any type of animal that you're trying to, figure out if you want to keep it as a pet. This is a good way to figure out if you can afford it, if, their care is something that you're going to be able to do. And you also get to look at a lot of cute pictures. usually people have a lot of pictures on these sort of websites. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy that, and remember to like and subscribe to see more videos.